So first set of notes is going to be on Unit 3.6. Okay, Unit 3.6. And first thing we're going to do today is go over something called cube factoring. Okay, cube factoring. So before we can go over cube factoring, we need to make a list of all of the cubes. Okay, so we're going to make, I want you to do 1 through 10 cubed. Remember, cubed does not mean by 3, multiply by 3. It means multiply times itself 3 times. So I want you to make a list all the way from 1 to 10 and fill in the cubes. Okay, so 1 cubed, 2, all the way through 10. I'm going to give you just a minute to try to fill those in, and then I'll call on people to tell me what they are. By the way, if you have no idea how to do these, there is a poster in the math under the math 8 wall back there. But I'm not promising that that's always going to be there, and it's something that it's not necessarily that you have to memorize these, but you have to be able to recognize them backwards. Okay, I know that you could do 6 cubed. You can multiply 6 times 6 times 6. It's more that you need to be able to recognize that a number is a cube. So you need to be able to go backwards, actually. So I'm not requiring that you memorize these, just highly recommending it. So 1 cubed. What is 1 cubed? Braden. Where's Braden? What's 1 cubed? 1. Yes, not a trick question. Okay, what is 2 cubed? David. 2 cubed.
8.
Thank you. 8. Okay, what is 3 cubed? Monique. 27. 4 cubed. Chris. 64. 5 cubed. Austin's not here anymore. Alex Schultz. 5 cubed.
So if we get our popsicle stick pulled, does that mean we won't get called on again?
Say it again. 125. No, because I put them right back. Thanks. 6 cubed. Jacob. 216. 7 cubed. Tyler.
343.
343. 8 cubed. David. Again.
512.
Say it again.
512.
8 cubed, 512. That's not what I thought you said, sorry.
Shabu.
9 cubed. Keyshawn.
729.
729. And finally 10 cubed. Sarah. Stab. Say it again. 10 cubed. 10 times 10 times 10. 1,000, yes. No trick questions. Okay, so like I was saying earlier, you really need to be able to recognize cubes, okay? So not going this way to the big number, but going backwards, knowing, for instance, that 216 is 6 cubed, okay? 2 different formulas, basically, that you need to know, okay? And you need to know, for one, that a cubed plus b cubed, okay, that breaks down to be a plus b times a squared minus ab plus b squared. That is the first formula that you need to know. Okay, a cubed plus b cubed, so this is called addition of cubes. You also need to know something called subtraction or difference of cubes. Difference of cubes would be a cubed minus b cubed, and that is equal to a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. You need to memorize these formulas or these patterns, okay? Because this is how all of your homework is going to be today, okay? You have to have this pattern memorized. Now, I understand that just dealing with A's and B's is a little bit challenging, okay? And I'm also going to give you an acronym that's going to help you with this type of factoring, okay? The acronym is just SOAP, S-O-A-P, okay, SOAP. A lot of times instead of calling this cube factoring, we call it SOAP factoring. And the reason is, if I write these in, SOAP stands for the signs that go in your parentheses, okay? So it's always, S stands for same, O stands for opposite, AP stands for always positive. So put in your SOAP signs. Sorry, you can't really see that. Let me change colors. So S for same, O for opposite, AP for always positive. So this is referring to same sign as what you started with. O stands for opposite, so opposite sign of what your initial problem was. AP, always positive. Same thing here. Okay, put in your SOAP signs, so same sign, opposite sign, AP for always positive. So hopefully that will help you at least put in the correct signs, okay? So what we're going to ask you to do is, for example, number one, first off, it's always going to say factor completely. Okay, so we always need to factor completely. Okay, and for example number one, I would like you to factor x cubed minus 8. X cubed minus 8. When you do this, the first thing you want to do, where are you going? First thing you want to do is I want you to identify what is being cubed. So here, what is being cubed to give you x cubed? X, okay? I understand that one is incredibly easy, but it's not always going to be quite that easy. Minus, what cubed gives you 8? 2, okay? It's important to recognize those. Then next thing you're going to do is you're going to put in 2 sets of parentheses. Put a little set and then put a kind of longer set. Okay, put in a little set of parentheses and then put in a longer set. Next step I want you to take is I literally want you to, on every problem, write out SOAP. So, S-O-A-P. So, S-O-A-P. And then underneath that, you're going to put in your signs. So, same as the problem would be what?
Negative.
Negative. Opposite is positive. AP, always positive. Okay, so first we put in our SOAP signs. Then we actually put things into the parentheses. Okay, the way this works is the first set always has whatever your first thing was. So what was the first thing being cubed?
X.
The x. The second thing being cubed, what was the second thing being cubed? 2.
Oh, 2.
The second thing being cubed. That's why we break these down, okay? Then the first thing squared. So what's the first thing squared? The first thing was x, and squared would be x squared. A combination of the both, so that means that multiply both parts together. So what would be x times 2?
2x.
2x. You always do want to write that with the number first. If you write x2, I might mark it wrong because that's just not the way we write things. And then finally the second thing squared. So 2 squared. Now, after that, I want you to clean it up because sometimes you have to do a little bit of work here. So your next step would just be x minus 2, and then just clean this up. X squared plus 2x plus 4. That is your answer. Okay, and we're going to follow the same process all throughout today. Okay, same process all throughout. Questions on how we did that? And this is just something that you have to memorize the pattern. Okay, you just have to memorize it. And eventually you'll just get it. Yes?
So if we plugged in something for x, would it be the same x cubed minus 8 as it would be our answer?
What do you mean if you plug something
Like
in?
if we plugged in 2 for x, would it come out
Yeah.
the same? If we put in...
Absolutely, yes. If you put it into this equation?
Yeah, and
Yes,
then put it
because if
into-
you multiply these together, if you actually did the multiplication, it would be x cubed minus 8.
Okay.
Everything in between would cancel out, or would eliminate itself. Okay, let's try another one. I would like you to now try, let's go x cubed minus 1,000. X cubed minus 1,000.
wobble. What if the 8 was another variable?
We'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, so with this one, what's the first thing being cubed?
X.
The x being cubed. What's the second thing that's being cubed? So basically, what's the cube root of 1,000? 10. Okay, then put in your parentheses, kind of a little set and then a larger set. Write in what I would call your SOAP signs, so S-O-A-P. Literally, every single time I do a problem like this, I actually write out the letters. So not just, the signs, but write the letters. It's going to help cement it in your brain, and it's just going to help you from making so many mistakes, okay? So put in your SOAP signs. So same should be what? Negative. Opposite is positive. AP, always positive. Always positive, okay? It never changes. It's always positive. So that means always positive. So here, you do the first thing. So what was the first part being cubed? An x. What was the second thing being cubed? A 10. First thing squared. So what's the first thing squared? X squared. Combination of both. 10x. And the second thing squared. 10 squared. Now, eventually, you probably won't have to write this step, and you'll just go straight to 100. But when you're first learning it, it's probably a good idea to take 2 separate steps until you've really got it cemented in your brain. So x minus 10 and x squared plus 10x plus 100. By the way, if you do not simplify, meaning actually do the 10 squared or whatever the last thing is squared, I will mark it wrong. Okay, you do have to fully simplify. So this is your actual answer. Let's try another one. Number 3. Okay, I would like you to factor completely 125x cubed minus 1. 125x cubed minus 1. Yes.
If we're uncomfortable with the way it's working, say it was 1,000 minus x3, can we switch it?
No.
Can't switch.
Nope. The only time you can switch things is if it's plus in between. Otherwise, you're completely changing the problem.
So you can't switch it if it's plus.
I would not, but you could, technically. You're never going to see a multiple choice response written backwards, though, for sure. Okay, so 125x cubed minus 1. So what's the first thing being cubed? 5 cubed and x being cubed. Okay, minus what's being cubed to give you a 1? 1 cubed. Okay, so write your 2 parentheses, one little one kind of longer one. Write in your SOAP sign, so S-O-A-N-P. Now actually put in the sign, so same sign should be what? Same sign as your original problem should be what? Negative. O is opposite, which is positive. AP, always positive. What's the first part being cubed? A 5 and an x, so a 5 and an x. What's the second thing being cubed? A 1. The first thing squared should be 5 squared and x squared. Combination of both. That's actually 5x times 1. And then the second thing squared is 1 squared. So this one definitely needs to be cleaned up. Okay, for that, you just have 5x minus 1. And your second set of parentheses should be 25x squared plus 5x plus 1. Now, Tanner was asking just a minute ago, if I don't like having these big numbers first, can I just switch this? You cannot just switch things, okay? You can't just move them around, okay? Negative means that that sign belongs with the 1. You cannot just arbitrarily move things around because you don't like the way it looks, okay? It just doesn't quite work that way. Anybody that is smiling at their lap, could you please stop looking at your lap at your phone? I'm hoping it's on your phone that you're looking at, and start paying attention to my notes. Thank you. It's not appropriate to smile at your lap in math class. Number number 4. Didn't say who I was talking to. Number 4, x cubed plus 216. X cubed plus 216. X cubed plus 216. So up until now, we've done difference of cubes. Okay, difference means subtract. Now we're doing addition of cubes. First thing you want to do is figure out what cubed gives you x cubed. X. Okay, obviously that one's pretty basic. Then what cubed gives you 216? Yes, this is 6. Okay, this is why earlier I went over the cubes, because if you don't have them memorized, you're going to have no idea. Okay, like what cubed gives you 216? Okay, a lot of times people say 8. It's not 8, it's 6. Okay, so be just a little careful about that. Do 2 sets of parentheses, one little one, one big one. Put in your soap signs, so same, opposite, always positive. Like I said, I would write out the letters above every single time. Okay, then same would be what? Positive. Opposite is negative. AP, always positive. First thing is what? X. Second thing being cubed is 6. First thing squared, x squared. Combination of both. 6x. Last thing squared. 6 squared, 36. Are we to the point where I can just do that without writing out 6 squared and we don't have to take that separate step, hopefully? If not, you can take an extra step. I would rather you show more work than less. Okay, if you show more work, show more work than I require, that's all right. Okay, yes.
If there's a GCF with the squares,
Not there yet. 27 plus x cubed. Let me get there. Now, Thomas just asked a good question. Isn't the first rule in factoring to look for GCF? Yes, it is. Okay, so absolutely correct. I neglected to mention look for GCF first. Okay, if you have a GCF, you should definitely take it out. So what cubed gives you 27? 3 cubed plus what cubed gives you x cubed? X cubed. I want you to write out your parentheses, do your soap sign, please.
By the way, Mrs. Kuhn,
Yeah.
you still owe me a homework pass from yesterday. A late
Awesome.
homework pass.
I do that next time.
No. Put in your soap signs. Okay? So same, opposite, AP for always positive.
I'm looking.
Are you writing? I'm not on this one. I'm on 5.
I was going to.
Where?
22.
I need
Where's
some
4?
water in my hair too because it's a
Awesome.
little fly away.
Okay. Stop looking at Tanner's notes and trying to get ahead.
I was just getting ahead. Taking myself.
Okay, so same, opposite, always positive. Same is positive. Opposite is negative. AP, always positive. So when you break this down, the first thing is 3. The second part is x. You cannot just switch these around because you don't like having numbers first. It just doesn't matter that way. You can't, okay? You will, actually I take that back. If it's positive, you could switch them around, but you will never ever see an answer on a multiple choice test or quiz that's going to be written in the backwards way. So I wouldn't recommend doing it. First thing squared is what? 3 squared is 9. Okay, combination of both. 3 and an x. Second thing squared, x squared. Second thing was the x's, so x squared. Be careful because there's a tendency that people have in their head to always want to do the x's first and then the numbers. If the numbers came first, you have to keep them first. Please do not rearrange things just because you feel like it. Doesn't always work that way. Anyone have any questions so far? Yes, I recognize that these notes are a little long. Sorry. Okay, number 6. 64 a cubed plus b cubed c cubed. 64 a cubed plus plus b cubed c cubed. This is where it gets kind of important to start taking that second step and writing what is being cubed. So what is being cubed to give you 64 a cubed? 4 and an a. Okay, so I'm going to write them in parentheses. What's being cubed to give you b cubed, c cubed? B and c. Then put in your soap sign, so same, opposite, always positive. Write out the acronym above it. And this is just to help you put in the signs. Okay, so same will be what?
Close.
Positive, opposite's negative, AP is always positive. The first thing being broken down is a 4 and an A. The second thing is B and C. The first thing squared is what? This is probably where you probably want to write them in parentheses and then take the second step, okay? A combination of everything is going to be 4A times B times C. So it's actually 4 ABC. And then the last one is B and C squared. Take that extra step because it will save you time, okay? A lot of people will mess up this 4A and they'll only square the number, not the letter, and that's going to make it wrong. So if we rewrite this, this is 4A plus BC times 4A quantity squared is 16A squared minus 4ABC plus B squared C squared. That's the other mistake that people will make, is they won't square both of them. They just square the second one. Okay, so you do have to take it out of parentheses and make sure you square everything. Any questions yet? Okay, 2 more. Okay, number 7. I would like you to factor completely x to the 6th plus 343. X to the 6th plus 343. So what cubed gives you x to the 6th?
X cubed.
Nope. What cubed gives you x to the 6th?
X squared.
X squared. Okay, this is where we kind of have to go back and remember those exponent rules that we did at the beginning of the unit. Okay, power to a power means you multiply, not adding. Okay, so here, what cubed gives you 343? 7. So hopefully you're starting to kind of recognize the cubes. Then I want you to put in your parentheses. So put in your soap signs, little parentheses, big parentheses. Thank you. Okay, put in your parentheses, put in your signs. So same, opposite, always positive. Same is plus, O is negative, AP positive. The first thing is just x squared. The second thing is 7. Then the first thing squared is x squared squared. Combination of both would be x squared times 7. So obviously I'm not going to leave it that way, but it's x squared times 7. And then finally, the second thing squared. If you simplify that, we should get x squared plus 7 times, what's x squared squared? Do you add these or multiply them? You multiply, okay? Technically, if you added or multiplied 2 and 2, you're still going to get the same answer, but it is multiply. So 4 minus 7x squared plus 49. So x squared plus 7 times 4x to the, x to the 4th minus 7x squared plus 49. Okay, and I have one more. I'm sorry these are so lengthy, but they are all the different types that are on your homework and on your quiz. and test. So 2x cubed plus 128. 2x cubed plus 128. Where do you think I start?
GCF.
Heard it from one person. What's that first rule in factoring? GCF, okay? These both have a GCF. What is the greatest common factor between these two? A 2, okay? If you take out a 2, left behind would be x cubed plus 128 divided by 2 is 64. Now I can break things down. So you still have a 2 out here. What cubed gives you x cubed? X. Plus, what cubed gives you 64? 4 cubed. Now, this 2 does not go away. It's going to keep being there every single time. Now, you're still going to have a 2 out front. Do a little parentheses and a larger one. Put in your SOAP sign, so S, O, A, and P. Same will be positive. Opposite is negative. AP, always positive. First thing being cubed is x. Second part is 4. The first thing squared is what? X squared. Combination of both. 4x. Second thing squared. 16. Okay, that's what cube factoring looks like. A lot of times, we just call this SOAP factoring because that helps you remember the acronym. Okay, but this is cube factoring or SOAP factoring. Questions?